What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. If you don't like it, you can have that seatbelt. 3 years ago. As you guys know, the PlayStation 5 comes out next year. The next Xbox is also expected to come out next year. But I really think that the release of the PlayStation 4 Pro kind of screwed over these systems before they even came out. Now, calm down. I'm not saying that these systems aren't going to sell. Of course, they're going to sell really well. But I think that the existence of the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X kind of screwed over expectations for these new systems. Now, going from a vanilla PlayStation 4 to this next PlayStation 5 is going to be power-wise a pretty big difference. But if you own the PlayStation 4 Pro and especially an Xbox One X, it might not be as impressive as it could have been had those devices not existed. Because the PlayStation 4 Pro was marketed as a 4K version of the PlayStation 4, people expected the games to be native 4K, right? The end result is some were, most weren't, right? On the Xbox One X, there was more 4K native games, but not all of them were native 4K. Now, with the next systems coming out, with them being true successors to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, people are going to expect these games to be native 4K, and because they're hyping up higher frame rates, native 4K and 60 frames per second. Now, the reason that's going to kind of screw with the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox is because of that expectation. Now, because when these games come out, no matter how good they look, when people find out some of them, a lot of them, aren't native 4K, people are going to trash them. Now, I'm telling you, just like I told you guys last generation, whether these systems can run these games 4K native and 60 frames on every game, it's not going to always happen because it's always going to come down to developer choice. There's always going to be developers that are going to pick higher end visuals over native resolution. Same thing that I told you guys last generation, or I told you that not all games are going to be 1080p 60 frames. Not all games are going to be 60 frames because it's up to developer choice. Now, could all these games be 1080p 60 frames and 4K 60 frames? Yes. But you have to remember that you have to sacrifice graphical quality for that to happen. All games on the Switch could be 1080p native and 60 frames per second if they wanted to. It just means the games are going to look worse. The Witcher 3 on the Switch could be 1080p 60 frames per second, but it probably also wouldn't have any of the post-processing effects and look a lot worse. It's all about the developer choice. Now, with them hyping up the 4K and the 60 frames per second or higher on these next-gen systems, if they don't hit that, people are going to be disappointed. Because you've already seen with this past generation that there's games that looked great. The graphics were great. People thought they were native 4K or thought they were native 1080p, thought they looked great, found that they weren't, and then all of a sudden they were less hyped for the game because it wasn't native 1080p or native 4K or really 60 frames per second. That's why I say that the PlayStation 4 Pro kind of screwed that up, because had these systems not existed and we were just going from the vanilla PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox One to this next Xbox, and that 4K 60 frames per second expectation wasn't there, there would have been room for them to really blow us away. Now, there are going to be games on the system, obviously, that look incredible and blow away games on these last systems. But because of that expectation being so high with the native res and the frames per second, a lot of these games, at least initially, probably won't look that much better than the Xbox One X version of a game, for example. Now, people are going to say that I'm just trying to deflate the hype of the PlayStation, but I'm not. I'm telling you the truth, and I'm telling you what's going to happen. Just like when I told you guys in 2013 that the CPUs in the vanilla PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One were aimed at laptops and were trash. Everybody thought I was just pulling out of my rear. Look what happened with that. They are trash, right? But I don't know, man. What do you guys think in the comments section? I know a lot of people going to be hating on this video because they think I'm just talking crap. But mark my words, you guys are going to revisit this video in a couple years or a few years down the line and be like, damn, that nigga was right again.